Have you ever looked at your webinar numbers and think, this should be more? You're not doing it wrong. You're not bad at what you do. Honestly, you're probably better than most people out there. You've got clients, you've got a product, you've already sold, and yet the results are underwhelming. Maybe your webinars are converting at 5, 10%, maybe 15, and in your head, you're like, why do I feel like I could do more? Here's the thing. You've been approaching this from the wrong angle, not because you're failing, you're not, definitely not, but because you're leaving leverage on the table. You're working harder than you need to, adding content that doesn't compound and missing the points where your webinar could actually carry weight, real money. And by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix that. No extra slides, no fancy frameworks, no gimmicks. And I will bring you 3 solutions as well on how to solve this issue and problem, leaving money on the table. By the end of this video, you will understand what I'm saying and you'll be thankful that you stayed till the end. But before we do that, there's a bit of housekeeping that I need to do. If you are here for the first time, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Carlos. I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and webinar presenters over the last couple of years. I've seen the same pattern repeat again and again. Not beginners struggling to get their first sale. I'm talking about pros like yourself who already sell. On this channel, I'm helping people like you going from 5 figures to 6 or 6 figures to 7, just like I did with my clients in the past. So if you're interested to do that, follow this channel along. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment as well so I can continue creating videos like this for you. The reason why most people choose to work with me is twofold. One, they have a webinar and they want to optimize the webinar because they're leaking money somewhere. Or two, they have the whole system that they built around a webinar and they want it optimized. Reason being is because they actually look at their numbers and realize this could be 10 times better. That's when I come into the play. And this is exactly who I want to talk to today. If that's you, stick around because there's something actionable here that will change the way your webinars perform. Let me ask you a question, okay? Have you ever recorded a webinar, put in all the work, you've done the slides, the storytelling, the value bombs, all sorts of other things, and then watched the replay later and realized something? You said you're teaching more than enough, and yet the numbers just aren't adding up. Have you had this before? Now, here's what's happening. You are over-delivering at the wrong time. Yeah, write that down. You are over-delivering at the wrong time. Think of it like this. Imagine that you are at a fine dine restaurant. You take your spouse out. You imagine the whole scenario. Now, you sit down and then the chef starts sending you these small appetizers. They're beautiful. They are amazing. I'm pretty sure that some of you had the experience like that. Now, imagine that you feel impressed and you think, wow, this is a 5-star experience. But then the main course arrives. And by the point, you're full. You're satisfied, but not hungry. And the chef doesn't realize that because he over-delivered on the starters. The dish that most mattered gets diminished, the main course, because he over-delivered on the starters. That's your webinar right now. You're giving incredible value up front, which is fantastic, but you're draining the momentum you need to carry people to the point where they make the decision to buy. Does it make sense? And when they do reach your pitch, your main course, they are fine. Not ecstatic, not compelled, not jumping at the chance to buy. They don't care anymore because they are full. Here's the cold reality. If your webinar is under leveraging your authority and over delivering in places that don't move the needle, you're leaving tens of thousands of euros or dollars on the table every month. Imagine this, okay? Let's play around a little bit with numbers because I know you guys love that. Let's say your offer is $3,000, euros, pounds, whatever you feel like. Let's just call it $3,000 this time. You run a webinar for 100 people. Let's say 10 people buy. That's $30,000. Now imagine you optimize this small leak per se. Suddenly your conversions go from 10% to 20%. That's 60K in your pocket, double the money, just by optimization. And guess what? That's without adding more slides, more content, or more proof points per se. You're not working harder at this point. You're just working smarter. And if you do this consistently month after month, you're talking about 100K, 500K incremental revenue just from correcting where your webinar leaks momentum. That's what entrepreneurs care about the most, not theory and all these BS. Real money in real time. Now, I'm sure that if you followed me up until this point, you want to fix this and you want to see whether you need to fix this. So in the next section, I'm going to talk about this. To identify where you're leaking attention, most webinars lose people at 2 points. The first 10 minutes is usually too heavy on background. You know, what did you do, who you are, why people should listen to you. And obviously, the last 10-15 minutes before the pitch, that's where people will actually mentally check out due to the over teaching that I mentioned earlier. So if you watch your replay, mark where people could disengage, or if you have the data, mark exactly where people disengage, leave your webinar, or they're not active anymore. This is where leverage is being lost, by the way. So if you can, watch replay yourself and see where you think, okay, I think this is where people fall off, or if you have the data to back it up, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I talked about this before, and I really need you to put this on pen and paper and put it in front of you, because this is something that you need to implement ASAP if you want higher performing webinars. These are called the micro commitments, which again, I talked about on this channel quite a lot. And I honestly do believe that this works because we tried and tested these methods. So micro commitments is one of them. Instead of giving all the value up front, give them a small interactive commitment that they can do, or give them multiple. For example, a question, a poll, a think about your current problem moment, right? This keeps them mentally invested. Think of it like stretching before lifting heavy weight. You're preparing them to carry the load, okay? So just use micro commitments. Another thing is stop overloading with examples that don't push towards the decision. Every story, every slide, every explanation should nudge them closer to the outcome that they want. So ask yourself, will this move the needle? If not, then just simply cut it. Immediacy and scarcity works wonders. Without being salesy, actually, you need to remind people that the offer is tied to results, time, and access. So humans respond to gentle nudges, not pressure. This is what makes your main course irresistible, actually, if you think about the analogy that I used earlier. So don't leave it ambiguous, okay? End with a clear decision point. The goal isn't to educate. That's very important. Write it down. The goal isn't to educate on a webinar. It's to guide them to a decision. Make it simple, actionable, and binary. Buy or pass. Easy as that. Anything else dilutes the impact. Don't let them think. Don't let them have second ideas. Buy or pass. Easy as that. Let me give you a real example. One of my clients is a lady from Germany. She's a seasoned coach, by the way. She was running a webinar for her 3,000 euro program. She had clients, she had testimonials, she had an authority, she had the full monthly, right? Everything was there. But her conversions were hovering around 7, 8%. So she hired me. We looked at the webinar and realized that she was giving too much upfront. She spent the first 20 minutes teaching, then 20 minutes on her background, and roughly about 10 slides on stories, and about another 10 minutes on the pitch. So what we realized is that her audience mentally checked out right before the main course, actually, because she'd been rumbling about 50 minutes on something that they didn't care about. She thought that was important, but at the end of the day, 50 minutes was wasted on appetizers, and then by the main course arrived, people were checking out. So what we did, we reconstructed the webinar. We used the decision pathway that I mentioned, micro commitments in there to tighten the content and keep the momentum. And we kept a precise pitch window. Now, the next webinar, guess what? 22% conversions. That's the kind of leverage you're chasing, right? Not more work, smarter work. And your audience already respects you enough to follow the cues, I presume. So here's a bonus tip for you that I can see most entrepreneurs ignore big time. Follow-up sequences are your silent sales team. Okay, so your webinar doesn't have to close everyone live. So if you structure 3 to 5 follow-up emails that reinforce the decision and collect all the sales that the webinar already prepared for you, the numbers will explode. That's what we did, by the way, with this German lady as well. Many high-ticket marketers underutilize this because they assume that the live event should carry the weight and carry everything. Now that's wrong. The webinar starts the journey, but the follow-up finishes the job most of the time. This is why I told you in the beginning that I usually like to think about the whole system. So if we work together, it's not just your webinar, it's your whole system that we optimize. If you're ready to see this work on your webinars, I want you to do one thing today, okay? Take your last replay, mark the points where people checked out, and ask yourself, what micro commitments could have kept them there, and put them in. And if you want, I will show you exactly how to map these points and plug them into repeatable templates. And you can use this to multiply your results just like we did over and over again without adding more slides, more content, and obviously more effort, because you're a smart operator. That's what you want to do, right? But remember that you're already good. You're already selling. You're already competent. The goal isn't to be better at this point, okay? The goal is to leverage what you already have and finally let your webinars carry the weight that they're meant to carry for you. And as always, I'm going to leave you with this and this video because YouTube thinks that this is the one that you need to watch next. See you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe and watch this next. See you there. Thank you.